What is up, YouTube? On this episode of House Dealer, we're going to be replacing the ignition switches on both of the Foxes back here, as well as replacing the arm rest pad on the center console on the 86 GT. So stay tuned. Alright, so I got these parts you're about to see from NPD, National Parts Depot. You might have heard of them. They're pretty huge. You may have heard of them from all their Chevy and their other older classic Fords and Mopar restoration parts. But what you may not know is that these guys have a ton of Foxbody parts. I needed some seat covers for the 79, and turns out LMR and other places didn't have them. Well, when I went to mpdlink.com and started looking around, it turns out they got a ton of parts for the Foxbody Mustangs. I'm not plugging them because they're sponsoring me or paying me to say this. I'm plugging them because they're actually really cool dudes to work with. When I called them up, their sales representatives were stupid knowledgeable. I mean, crazy knowledgeable. They're enthusiasts on these Foxbody Mustangs back here. So after talking to them, I realized that these guys have 4 locations around the United States. And they're huge. And because of that, they keep a ton of this parts in stock, ready to ship all the time, all across the US, so they can get it to you at your door as quickly as possible. We're gonna try them out. This is the first time I use NPD, but so far, I'm really loving it. Like I said, they're not paying me to say this. I just had a really good experience with it, and I wanted to show you guys and kind of share with you all the stuff they had. All right. You may remember one of the last videos when we were driving the 79 around, that whenever I hit the blinker, the radio would turn off. In fact, sometimes it was opposite. Sometimes the radio would turn off, and whenever I turned the blinker, it would turn back on. So what I noticed was, okay, that's weird. Also, my gauges would go out. So the radio would go out and the gauges would go out. Sometimes if I tapped on it, it would turn back on, or sometimes if I hit the steering wheel or if I just tapped something just right, it would go back on. So clearly that's not normal and there's a short somewhere. So I decided to investigate one day. What I found was the wires down here, if I pull on them, I could reproduce the issue. So that tells me without a doubt that the ignition component, oh, I freaking left it in there. So that led me to this component right here. This is your ignition switch. Now this is where your cylinder lock connects to, and whenever you turn your key, what it is it takes a slide component. There's a component here that slides against the contacts and turns your accessories on, and also starts the engine. So if you're having issues with the car not starting, maybe you turn the key, nothing happens, or if you're having weird stuff like me happen where it was on, but when you'd be driving, the radio would cut out, and sometimes your instrument cluster would cut out, this is very likely the culprit. So what happens was I was able to trace this, and when I wiggled it, what I found out was these components wear right here where the metal meets the plastic. And on a factory component, this will get loose and start separating. Well, when that separates, these contacts, this slider in here is not sliding up against the contacts as well as it should. So what that means is you start having contact in places that they shouldn't happen. Now I've been informed, and again, this is where NPD was super helpful. They kind of told me that, listen, this is cheap insurance. These are known to burn cars to the ground. And I wanted to make sure you guys are aware that when these starts having issues, you need to address it. Because what happens is you start getting sparks, you start getting contact in places that's not supposed to happen. And when that happens, you've got arcing and sparks, and you've got a wire harness that just ignites. And the next thing you know, your dash is on fire. Everything under your dash is on fire, and if you don't get it out, you know, your whole car can burn down. So as cheap as a component as this is, it's super cheap insurance to just go ahead and replace it. So if you're having weird issues like starting issues, or maybe you're having hard starts, sometimes it starts, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes the cylinder doesn't do anything, or in my case you're having ghost issues with a dash where it just stops working, this is really cheap insurance, guys. So we're going to replace it on the 79 here, and I've got another one that we're going to put on the 86. Like I said, we're just going to go ahead and replace both of them. I feel like it's cheap enough part to keep my car from burning down. It's well worth it. You want to help? You want to help do this part? See this little part right here, buddy? We're going to replace this on both the cars. Let's come in here, Connor. What we're going to need for this tool is to drop the drop the steering column plastics. So we'll get a drill, and then we're going to get a Dremel tool. I'll show you why later. All right, now I know this is on a 4-eyed car. This is on a, 79 to 86, but this is the same is true on your later Foxes. We're just going to take off these 4 screws here. Okay. And we'll slide this out of the way in a semi-safe spot like so. All right, so the way to get this off, and this looks like actual rivets, but what we have to do is you want to take off both top and bottom of the steering column covers, and what we're going to be replacing is this component here. Like I said, these look like rivets, but these are actually screws. So what we're going to have to do with the Dremel is just grind a groove down the center of it, like a flathead groove, so we can spin these out. So that's why you need a Dremel tool. You know what a Dremel tool is? All right, so I'm going to put a cutoff wheel on my Dremel tool here. Decent. Bam! So I usually have the smaller cutoff wheels, but I've got this one. This is a little bit thick, but it's gonna sling some metal all over the car, and that's okay. Now we need a baby screwdriver. I said this before, everyone needs a Dremel tool. I said this before, but everyone needs a Dremel tool.
You did say that?
I've said it before. Take 4. I said it 5 seconds ago. But you guys don't know that because I dropped this and we lost the screw.
Look on the secret.
10 minutes later, we had to go find the screw so I can continue my story on how everyone needs a Dremel tool. Okay, cool. Back to the 79. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Man, that sun's in my eyes. I got my big boy screwdriver here because I put a big groove in it. So, hey, look at that. It worked. It's worked.
Surprisingly.
Cool.
All
right, we got one out. Let's do that same other one here. Now, I don't want to hit I don't want to hit the panel here. So what I'm going to do is just take a second to take it off. Because knowing me, I would slip and put a big old gas in this perfect fuse cover with 0 problems. Cool. So if you see, I just kind of ground a groove in it here, and also the heat will help it kind of just come unglued, because they probably use some sort of Loctite. Oh, that's a better groove. It's a much better job on the second one than I did the first one. See, so Ford put a little bit of Loctite in there, if you can see that. So, all right, that easy, and don't lose these screws. Now they do make replacement screws, and I actually forgot to order these, so I'm gonna use these for now. And it's Sunday, so tomorrow I'm gonna order a new one. So look at this. Look how this is broken right here, and look how loose this is. So this right here, oh gosh, disconnect the battery. We should disconnect the battery right now. All right, the battery is disconnected. You want to make sure you do that. That way, whenever you're pulling these parts out, you want to make sure you don't, arc it. So here's the deal. So this is a plug, of course. We're going to take this plug off. Now, as you know, I know you guys have worked on many old Fords. These will break and crack. So very gently pry them like this. Ooh, I got it. Thank you, buddy. I was just about to call you over here. Okay, so there it is. So the old part is removed. Now let's look at it real quick. You just kind of see how loose it is. So yeah, fire hazard. Okay, so this pin right here is your center lock. Whenever you move this, you can see that this wiggles with it. So ideally, to get this to line up, what you need to do is just put the pin in place on this slot right here, which for me is right there. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is slide it to match up with the groove. So see how it slid in like that. Okay, now we're gonna put the old screws back in. Like I said, don't put the old screws in, guys. This is most likely an anti-theft prevention from Ford. Okay.
I remember you had to do this on the other Mustang.
No, I haven't done it on the other Mustang yet. We got 2 of them. We got to do it on both. And that is it. Now we plug it back in. Job well done, Connor. What we're going to do is plug the battery up, though, and make sure everything works before we put the plastics back on. All right. Got the battery plugged back in, and we're just going to test everything. That's a good sign. Okay. There's my key on. There's the key on.
It's your chain.
Man, I tell you what, it feels better. It just feels new. Like,
Radio.
wow, nice solid click, you know?
If I could drive a car, I would know what you would mean.
The motion whenever you twist this key, the click you feel in the ignition cylinder here is mostly caused from your contacts in your ignition switch. So most importantly though, let's make sure it starts. Crisis averted. So when I turn the key on, we have radio, we have radio, we have buzzer, but most importantly our gauges work. So boop, one car done. Put the plastics back on, Connor. I wanted to point out, I thought it was interesting that somewhere between 79 and 86 they added another hole here. Apparently this was coming apart and they decided to reinforce it with 2 screws around the cylinder lock versus 1 that was on the 79. That's awesome. All right. So here's another perfect example of why you replace this. So apparently this one has already caused issues with someone in the past because they zip tied it together. So this is exactly what I'm talking about, and I've seen this repair done on other people's cars before. They just run zip ties around it. So this is the wrong way to do it. I'm gonna go ahead and clip these off, fix this the right way. Man, I tell you what, the 86 is significantly tighter than the 79s was. I had to cut the groove quite a bit deeper because I need more leverage on this bigger screwdriver. Let's see if I can get this side off now. There we go. All right, so this one looks about the same as my 79 did. Now, someone already had issues with wiring the car in the past because they had run, you know, zip ties around the steering column to hold it in place, but you can see the amount of movement in this. So that's what causes, you know, shorts. And once these contacts move or slip, in fact, on the 79, this piece right here was broken off completely on mine. So these things do wear out, and they do very easily come apart. Yep. So this is worst case scenario. Yours gets like this, and then you're in really trouble. So here, what happens is, if you're not careful, yeah, this piece over here breaks off. So this is what it looks like. So there's a spring inside of it, and that's your actuator. And obviously, you know, this grease gets worn out and this contact. So this is whenever this component goes into your steering column, this is what slides like this. Okay, and there's a heavy spring here for your starter. So whenever you twist the, you know, solenoid to start the car, it's just pushed in the heavy spring, and then it makes the contacts to start the vehicle. But you can see how these wear. There's a little ball in there, so you gotta be careful. That'll fall out. If it does fall out, now you know where it goes. And it rides up against this right here. But that ball is what gives it the feel and the clicks whenever you turn it. That's why it feels so much better whenever you replace it. But you can see here that this is greased at one point, and you can see how they can easily shift, especially these right here, since these are spring loaded and they're meant to ride along the surface like this, how they can wear out, cause, you know, damage, and actually get to the point where you probably wear this completely down and either no longer make contact, or you break a component and they arc, they touch here, or different components in here touch where they shouldn't, and that's what causes, you know, a major spark. And clearly, as you can see, you know, when you cause an arc or a spark, especially on this harness, you got some major voltage. That's some high amp wires right here, because this is what actually is, you know, connecting to your starter relay and starting the vehicle. So these are thick for a reason. But you can imagine if you know, if any of these arc, how fast these would heat up and melt with the blink of an eye. This harness is on fire, which is going to cause a fire right underneath here and potentially burn your car to the ground. So, oh, no bueno, that hurt. No bueno. All right, come on inside the interior car. We got a big old bright light so you can see here. So,
oh gosh,
this happened the other day. That's not cool. Now this is not the first time I repaired it. It's gone, guys. It's time to replace this thing. It's cracked.
And
you can see I JB welded it and did all kinds of repairs, but what happened was right down there, so it finally broke.
Just the screw.
Just as where the screw goes into the plastic. So time to replace this and get rid of it. Now also, I didn't show you guys, but we also have a new latch. My latch is broken. You're supposed to have a hook right here that hooks into this, so it's never latched. Not only does it do this kind of fun thing, but also doesn't latch. So it's time, Connor. It's time.
I saw a new one on the bench. I did.
Yeah.
So
let's get this old one off and put it on and see how it looks.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've already seen this. This is a replacement pad from NPD. It's a nice looking component, I must say so myself. But they also have a latch for it, so this is cool. This is gonna go in place of the other component. So what we're gonna do is take the other one out of the car, put it up here on the bench, and then we'll swap the components onto here, like the hinge and whatnot. I'll hold it. All right, man, so you can see, definitely it's time to replace this guy. It is in rough shape, cracked, and I've done my best to fix it. Whenever I got it, this was cracked down the center. The whole thing was sagging way more than you see it now. So this new piece actually looks really good. So what I need here, since I've got a new latch for it, is the spring component below it. So we're just going to transfer this over like this. Take the screw out. This center piece here, there should be a spring here. So this is going to go right on the same way it came off, just like this. Make sure you put this piece in the correct orientation. Now, I had this in wrong when I first put it in. There is a little notch right here in the spring. That is where this tab goes. So we're going to stick it right there like this. See, so that should slide in place. Now we've got a spot here for the screw to go, which is going to go right there. Okay. Now it should work just like that, see? Okay, so now we have the latch in place. We're gonna put the hinge back on. All right, man. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Nice. This goes underneath that. All right, man, so
it already looks
better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Looks way better, dude.
What about these right here?
I know. Well, that's broken right here. So you have to replace this whole piece, which is not a huge deal. But before I get anything too tight, let's make sure it's aligned and latches. Hey.
It looks better.
Check it out, dude. That's the first time ever it's latched. Huh.
I mean, when it was first bought, it was probably latched.
Yeah, in '86, I'm sure it worked just fine.
Nice.
Oh, let's see. Let's test it out here. All right, man. Check it out. Woohoo! Look, no floppy. What do you think?
See, look, no floppy. Kind of.
What do you think?
Not like what it used to be. I love it.
Looks way better, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, listen. That's going to do it for this video. Hey, listen, it is beautiful outside, so I'm going to take one of these cars out for a ride. And yeah, nice peace of mind knowing that both ignition switches are done on this one and this one. We don't have to worry about them burning to the ground. And hey, the center console turned out really nice on the '86, so I'm happy with that. Not gonna put my arm on it without it wobbling around everywhere. But listen, I'm done talking to y'all, so I'm gonna go for a cruise, drive one of these cars. But stay tuned, because we got a lot more coming with the '79. I want to give you a sneak peek here of what I kind of want it to look like. We're gonna talk soon about colors and about options on it. So there's a lot that's going to happen on the '79 back here. It's gonna be a completely different car. We've got the axle over there to put into it. We have a TKO to still put in this car. So more content is coming, I promise. So stay tuned for that. Hey, well, follow me on Instagram. That way you get little notifications on the things I'm doing out here, what I'm working on and whatnot before I put them out on YouTube. Or just subscribe and then you can get notifications on whenever new videos are posted. So hey, peace. We'll see you guys next time. Take care. Keep wrenching on those foxes. Peace out.